Tonight, Donald Trump threatens to double tariffs on steel and aluminum.
If it comes to that, our response, of course, will be firm and clear.
Justin Trudeau's warning to the vice president on the sidelines of a global summit, and how 5 former prime ministers are urging Canadians to patriotically protest. Digging in on his plan to take over Gaza and push Palestinians out.
Take it under what authority? It is sovereign territory.
Under the U.S. authority.
The showdown at the White House with a key U.S. ally, how Jordan's king responded.
Absolutely.
Why a Canadian mother was arrested on a live reality TV show in Sierra Leone, jailed, and how her daughter is fighting for her release. How thieves are cashing in on stolen staples from the grocery store. And defying the bitter taste of tariffs with a creative Canadian twist.
I grow 35 varieties of citrus, and most of them are in production.
The Canadian farmer with a lesson in making lemonade when life gives you lemons.
CTV National News with Omar Sachedina.
Good evening. The stakes in the trade clash between Canada and the United States just got higher tonight. The White House now says that 25% tariffs on steel and aluminum could be on top of the 25% tariffs Donald Trump has already threatened on Canadian goods, adding up to a total of 50% for both metals. It comes as the Mounties in southwestern Ontario showed off one of 2 new Black Hawk helicopters they're leasing to help beef up Border Patrol, one of Donald Trump's key demands. And it also comes on the same day the Prime Minister appointed a new fentanyl czar. Kevin Brosseau is a former deputy commissioner with the RCMP and was recently an intelligence advisor to the Prime Minister. CTV's Judy Trin is in Washington tonight, where Canada's premiers are making their own push. But Judy, it appears the president is digging in.
Omar, Canada's 13 premiers are fighting tooth and nail to stave off a trade war, but the Americans don't appear to be listening, and they're raising the stakes. Premier Doug Ford spoke about building a fortress AMCAN, with Canada and the U.S. uniting forces to stop China from ripping off Americans.
Let's protect against Chinese investment and ownership in strategically important sectors.
But there didn't appear to be a member of Donald Trump's team in the room. The event was co-hosted by the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, but the audience was mainly from Ontario, including this auto executive worried about the impact of Trump's new tariffs on steel and aluminum.
You worry about the best for our companies and our community and for our countries in general. So very stressful.
Trump wants to build up domestic manufacturing and pressure Canada to renegotiate the North American Free Trade Agreement. One trade lawyer who has spoken to members of the White House administration says Trump won't stop his economic war until Americans feel the pain.
It's when you start seeing stock markets go down, when you start seeing vehicle plants close, when you start seeing the price of beef go up, when you start seeing the price of energy go up. That is what will get through to President Trump.
The worst thing we could do as a country is not show up. That sends a message to the president that we don't care. We care. We care tremendously.
Finance Minister Dominic LeBlanc will meet with the premiers on Wednesday, along with U.S. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick. That meeting is gaining urgency, with the White House now threatening to stack 25% tariffs on steel and aluminum on top of a general levy on Canadian goods. Omar.
CTV's Judy Trin in Washington tonight. The doubling up of those tariffs for steel and aluminum would be devastating across Canada, including in Selkirk, Manitoba, north of Winnipeg.
Hundreds of jobs, hundreds of families in one community, very dramatically and negatively impacted. And you see that kind of across the sector, across the country.
70% of the city's steel is exported to the U.S., about $200 million worth annually. When it comes to aluminum, most U.S. imports come from Quebec, which is why that province is also on edge tonight. CTV's Geneviève Beauchemin visited a company south of Montreal that now finds itself in Trump's crosshairs.
Over generations, Quebec forged a reputation as America's aluminum supplier. But Trump's tariffs now pose a major roadblock.
This is unprecedented. We've not in our worst nightmares would we envision something like that happening.
Alu MC3 was founded by the Mongrain family in the aluminum sector since 1959. It manufactures poles for lampposts, road signs, bridges.
If you look up on the highway, we were likely to
You're very likely to see some of our products.
The raw product is made in Quebec aluminum, but it goes via the U.S., shipped for processing before crossing the border yet again. Import levies stacked upon import levies will shut down major avenues.
Essentially, it's going to cut us off from the American market because we're getting priced out of this market. It's a significant rise on the price of our products, and we're simply not competitive anymore with this new tariff.
Quebec produces more than 2.9 million tons of aluminum each year. Its major smelters will be hit with the massive tariffs, of course.
This is all from the United States.
But most of the impacts, says the trade association, will fall on small and medium-sized businesses.
Already we have some members who have lost orders and have customers within the U.S. who told them they would be buying locally.
And that weighs heavily on the minds of the nearly 40,000 Quebec workers in the sector.
Just stressed out, or like a little bit anxious about it, because I've been like, what's going to happen?
Companies are hoping the governments are going to continue to pressure Washington, but also find ways to boost the industry here. Omar.
Geneviève Beauchemin in Sainte-Julie, Quebec tonight. The Prime Minister is in Paris vowing to strike back against U.S. tariffs. He was at a global summit on AI in the French capital, where he came face-to-face with Donald Trump's number 2. CTV's Rachel Aiello on what Justin Trudeau told J.D. Vance.
Tariffs on Canadian steel and aluminum would be entirely unjustified.
Prime Minister Justin Trudeau today slamming U.S. President Donald Trump's new steel and aluminum tariffs, stopping short of committing to a dollar-for-dollar retaliatory response.
If it comes to that, our response, of course, will be firm and clear.
It's a big deal. This is the beginning of making America rich again.
Late Monday, Trump signed an executive order that would impose 25% tariffs on steel and aluminum imports, without exceptions, as of March 12th. Canada did retaliate back in 2018, when similar measures were imposed during the NAFTA renegotiations before receiving a carve-out.
We will be working with the American administration over the coming weeks to highlight the negative impacts on Americans and Canadians of these unacceptable tariffs.
That work with the Americans began today at the summit that brought Trudeau and U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance into the same room.
Why are you slapping tariffs? Are you serious about making Canada the 51st state, sir?
According to a senior government source, Trudeau and Vance briefly spoke, and the Prime Minister brought up how steel tariffs would impact Ohio, the Vice President's home state. With Canada-U.S. tensions strained, Trudeau said he plans to work with other world leaders who have also been impacted by Trump's latest trade action, such as the European Union, which has vowed the U.S. president's tariffs will not go unanswered. The Prime Minister has already been interacting with allied countries on the sidelines of the summit, and he's set to see more tomorrow when he goes to Brussels. Omar?
Rachel Aiello in Paris again tonight. Rachel, thank you. A quintet of former prime ministers is calling on Canadians to fly the maple leaf this Saturday, the 60th anniversary of this country's flag, in the face of, quote, threats and insults from Donald Trump. In an open letter, they write, the 5 of us come from different parties. We've had our share of battles, but we all agree on one thing. Canada, the true north, strong and free, the best country in the world, is worth celebrating and fighting for. Liberal leadership candidates Chrystia Freeland and Mark Carney are talking tough against tariffs today, vowing to respond if they become prime minister.
We are in a crisis, not of our own making. We are being attacked economically by the United States. We have to respond to that.
We do not want to have a fight with you. We would prefer to be your partner, and we can be a great partner. But if you hit us, we're going to have to hit you back.
And a new poll shows the gap is narrowing between the Conservatives and the Liberals.
Women voters who had in December basically deserted the Liberals, they're coming back. Also in the province of Quebec, Liberal fortunes seem to be improving in the province of Quebec, where they're now pulling ahead of the Conservatives and are challenging the Bloc Québécois.
The new Nanos research poll shows the Conservatives at 38% and the Liberals 8 points behind at 30%, with little change for the other parties, including the NDP at 16%. Donald Trump hosted Jordan's King Abdullah at the White House today and reiterated his plan to take control of Gaza after displaced Palestinians are relocated. CTV's Washington Bureau Chief Joy Malbon on the tensions with a key ally.
They were all smiles, but this was always going to be awkward for Jordan's King Abdullah, reliant on U.S. aid and pressured by President Donald Trump, who wants to take over Gaza and force Jordan and Egypt to take in some 2 million Palestinians. Both nations rejected the idea outright, President al-Sisi postponing his trip to Washington indefinitely. Jordan's king offering this instead.
One of the things that we can do right away is take 2,000 children that are either cancer children or in a very ill state to Jordan.
That's really a beautiful gesture. That's really good.
Visibly moved, the president backed down on his threat to slash more than $1 billion in aid to Jordan, but insisted he would take over Gaza, and the Palestinians living there would be forced out permanently.
We will have Gaza.
What does that mean?
No reason to buy. There is nothing to buy. It's Gaza. It's a war-torn area. We're going to take it. We're going to hold it. We're going to cherish it.
Take it under what authority? It is sovereign territory.
Under the U.S. authority.
That would be a violation of international law, say experts, and forced deportation of Palestinians, ethnic cleansing, according to the United Nations.
It's completely bonkers. And the fact that it's framed as concern for Palestinians, I think, is what's most distasteful.
But Trump is undeterred, weighing in on Israel's fragile ceasefire with Hamas. Now at a breaking point, Trump threatened once again.
They either have them out by Saturday at 12 o'clock or all bets are off.
Not saying what America would do exactly, but echoing the Israeli Prime Minister's ultimatum.
Israeli forces have been ordered to be on alert along the Gaza border. If all the hostages are not released by Saturday at noon, Omar, Israel says the ceasefire is over. Omar?
Joy Malbon in Washington, where Elon Musk defended his track record, taking questions for the first time since his controversial cuts to the U.S. government spending.
All of our actions are fully public. So if you see anything, you say, like, wait a second, hey, Elon, that seems like maybe that's, you know, there's a conflict there. It's not like people are going to be shy about saying that. They'll say it immediately, you know?
Including you yourself.
Yes.
The tech billionaire and his young son stood beside Donald Trump in the Oval Office as the U.S. president signed an executive order on downsizing the federal workforce. The first of a series of powerful winter storms slammed the U.S. today, dumping snow, ice, and rain. Virginia declared a state of emergency, and more than 100 million Americans are under alerts. Quebec and Ontario are also bracing for heavy snowfall tomorrow. And one person is dead after a dramatic collision at an Arizona airport yesterday. A small jet owned by Motley Crue singer Vince Neil veered off the runway and crashed into a parked aircraft. Neil was not on board, but his girlfriend was among 3 people rushed to hospital. Coming up.
There's so many opportunities for criminals to resell their goods.
The Canadian grocery staples targeted by organized crime, plus the push to grow exotic fruit closer to home.
Prince Harry opens up and forges his own path.
Interesting, they gave me a chance to talk about my mum.
Honoring Canadian heroes.
What makes you feel so at home in this country?
In his mission of hope. A CTV News special, Thursday at 10:30 on CTV.
From cheese and eggs to butter and olive oil, grocery staples have become hot commodities for thieves looking to cash in on soaring grocery prices and a thriving black market. CTV's Heather Wright has more on the rise in food thefts here in Canada and around the world.
The figures are dizzying. More than $1 million worth of olive oil, $60,000 worth of butter, and thousands of dollars worth of cheese. Food thefts are on the rise right across the country.
There's so many opportunities for criminals to resell their goods.
Rui Rodriguez is with the Retail Council of Canada and says shoplifting cost Canadian retailers more than $9 billion last year.
Lowlights, bro.
It includes smash and grabs and coordinated thefts, like the nearly $13,000 worth of cheese stolen from a Vancouver Whole Foods in September.
We're always looking for deals, so criminals operate in that. If there's a need, they'll find a way to fill it. And if we allow crime to go unchecked or to make them believe that there's no consequences to their acts, they'll just continue to thrive.
Last week, 100 pallets of olive oil worth more than $1 million were stolen in Montreal. The theft only discovered when the shipment didn't arrive at its destination. In January, 6 people in Ontario were charged after $60,000 worth of butter was stolen. And amidst soaring egg prices in the United States, $40,000 worth of organic eggs were recently stolen from a trailer in Pennsylvania.
It's really about higher prices, creating a black market, and headlines getting organized crime to get organized and focus on some products. And that seems to be the pattern right now.
And while it's hard to put a figure on food-specific fraud, the World Trade Organization says globally it is between $30 and $50 billion a year, a figure that doesn't include alcohol. Experts say thieves often have a buyer lined up before the heist takes place, and when possible, will dilute the product to be able to sell more of it. Heather Wright, CTV News, Toronto.
Still ahead. The plea to free a Canadian arrested on live TV in West Africa. The daughter of a Canadian woman who was arrested live on a reality TV show half a world away is speaking out tonight, pleading for her mother's release from prison. And she spoke to CTV's Kathy Lee.
A mother and daughter's bond is unbreakable, but Alicia Hunt has had to be even stronger than that, speaking for her mom, sitting in a Sierra Leone prison for more than a month now.
We've had many restless nights.
Not to say anything. Hawa Hunt's arrest was captured on live television in December. She was a contestant on Sierra Leone's House of Stars, a reality show. The 42-year-old Calgarian, who has dual citizenship in Canada and Sierra Leone, was thrown in jail for criticizing President Julius Maada Bio and the First Lady in this social media post in 2023. Hunt says her mother and the First Lady grew up together.
Technically, my mom did break the law. However, I do feel that her punishment has been unjust.
Hunt apologized after her arrest, but it wasn't enough. Prosecutors claim her video incited public disorder and damaged the reputation of the country's leader and his wife.
The Cyber Security and Crimes Act was not supposed to be used to suppress dissenting voices or to hinder free speech.
Amnesty International agrees, demanding for Hawa's release and a fair trial, saying her multiple requests for bail have been refused while her mental health has been affected. The single mother of 3 awaits her second trial in Sierra Leone's High Court and will apply for bail again. Her family is worried about her treatment in jail.
Even though her mental health is not doing the best, she's really trying to stay hopeful.
Global Affairs Canada says it's aware of the arrest of a Canadian citizen in Sierra Leone, and consular officials are in contact with local authorities. Kathy Lee, CTV News, Calgary.
Canadian company Shopify has deactivated a website Kanye West used to sell T-shirts with swastikas. The T-shirt store on Kanye's Yeezy website was powered by Shopify and sold the anti-Semitic shirts for more than 24 hours before it was taken down. Shopify says the musician violated its terms.
Oh, I'm sorry that you love me. Change my mind.
The Juno nominations are out, and Tate McRae is tied for the overall lead. The Alberta singer picked up 5 nominations, including Single, Album, and Artist of the Year.
When you're single again and you're thinking of me, you know I got that same old Tennessee.
Country star Josh Ross is the other leading contender. The Ontario country star is also up for 5 Juno Awards, which will be given out at the end of March.
Welcome to this closing celebration as the Toronto Maple Leafs say goodbye to Maple Leaf Gardens.
And the Toronto Maple Leafs and their fans are remembering the man behind that voice, Paul Morris, tonight. The announcer for the team for nearly 4 decades has died at the age of 86. Still ahead.
They're doing really well. Look at the leaf quality is just amazing.
The sun-kissed fruits growing in the Canadian winter. There are a lot of Canadians wondering right now how they can buy local, but what about when it comes to international fruits that typically grow in warmer destinations? CTV's BC Bureau Chief Andrew Johnson shows us what's possible.
They're doing really well. Look at the leaf quality is just amazing.
This is Jane Squire's subtropical happy place.
This is a special little hardy guava.
About 10 years ago, Squire set out to grow her own citrus on Canada's west coast.
There's oranges and lemons and limes and grapefruits. We are moving into the avocados.
Squire's not only plucking fruit from these trees in the middle of winter, she's also doing it on the cheap.
My power bill for the whole farm is pretty much like a single-family home.
She credits regenerative soil techniques. An energy curtain hanging above the citrus grove cuts heat loss by about 40%. A hydronic system fueled by a wood-burning furnace keeps the temperature from dropping below 1 degree Celsius.
Hot water goes in here from that furnace and heats this water up, and then the heat comes off the pool, just naturally comes up, and the fan over there takes the heat and circulates it around the greenhouse.
Jane Squire believes it could be cost-effective to scale up subtropical fruit production in the Great White North. And she's not alone.
Into the future, maybe British Columbia will be the California of Canada.
Bob Duncan runs this demonstration orchard near Victoria. He's spent decades researching the best way to grow dozens of varieties of subtropical Mediterranean tree fruits for pennies per day. His secret weapon to keep the trees warm? Christmas lights.
The heating cost for the entire winter would be about $2 to $3.
What Duncan calls a low-tech, low-cost method anyone can learn to get more people growing and Canada less dependent on its neighbor.
It's no longer a pipe dream. It is entirely feasible.
In a country ripe for finding new ways to be self-sufficient. Andrew Johnson, CTV News.
And that's a snapshot of this Tuesday for all of us at CTV National News. Thank you for watching. Good night and see you tomorrow.
CTV National News, Canada's #1 newscast.